Are you a pervert or something? Okay. The whales have a 15-foot penis.
Hold on a sec. I just
National
want
Pornographic says it.
I'm sorry, Ken. You cut out there. They have a 15 what?
The whales have a 15-foot penis. I didn't cut out. You heard me. Google it yourself. The whales have a 15-foot penis.
I'm sorry, Ken. You cut out there. They have a 15 what?
Are you a pervert or something? Okay. The whales have a 15-foot penis.
Hold on a sec. I just
National Pornographic says it.
I'm sorry, Ken. You cut out there. They have a 15 what?
The whales have a 15-foot penis. I didn't cut out. You heard me. Google it yourself. The whales have a 15-foot penis.
I'm sorry, Ken. You cut out there. They have a 15 what?
Are you a pervert or something? Okay. The whales have a 15-foot penis.
Hold on a sec. I just
National Pornographic says it.
I'm sorry, Ken. You cut out there. They have a 15 what?
The whales have a 15-foot penis. I didn't cut out. You heard me. Google it yourself. The whales have a 15-foot penis.
I'm sorry, Ken. You cut out there. They have a 15
Are
what?
you a pervert or something? Okay. The whales have a 15-foot penis.
What's up, heathens? How ya doing? Tonight we have a Christian woman who's going to be justifying God allowing evil things to happen to people in the worst possible way. And I'm almost assured by Google that this is not going to be a very ad-friendly stream, because it's going to be grape, if you get my meaning. So we're going to be going over that today. It is sort of a shortened live stream today, this afternoon. I am going to be having Today I Learned, but we're not going to be doing any shitty ass science. No Bro Cephas tonight, unless he possibly pops up during the review. But we will be having Today I Learned. So I hope you guys are ready for that. If you want to know how this woman justifies the evil actions that God allows in the worst possible way, then please stay tuned. And of course, as always, I fuck this shit up. Hold on. Today I learned. I did that on purpose in case you didn't know. All right, so a little bit of singings to have our afternoon, which tonight we have some Corona to drink. I know this is probably not the smartest thing to do, but you know, whatever. I'm drinking the Coronas, the Ronas. Okay, yes, it's light, but that's only because of my diabetic ass. Anyways, so first up on Today I Learned, we have that Al Scarface Capone got his famous facial scars from saying, "Honey, you got a nice ass, and I mean that as a compliment. Believe me," to a woman. He got knifed in the face and received 80 stitches for the remark because it offended her brother. Well, probably because the "believe me" part. I mean, honestly, if you're telling something that you believe to be true, then do you really need to say "believe me"? I don't know. Maybe that was just a common thing at the time, but it just feels like you're reassuring when nothing needs to be reassured. But I know Trump does say it all the time, and most of the time he's lying, so that kind of makes sense. But anyways, that's how Al Capone got his Scarface nickname and his scars to go with the nickname. Basically, don't just outright tell a woman she's got a nice ass. That takes a little bit of a level of, like, I don't know, some kind of relationship, I guess, maybe? I don't know. Just don't tell random women they have nice ass. And then next on Today I Learned of a local folk remedy in Boho. Ireland was to place soil from the local church under a pillow while you slept to cure infections. In 2018, a microbiologist found that the churchyard soil contained a previously unknown strain of streptomyces, I don't know, which can be used to create antibiotics. And I find this really interesting because this goes along with the whole fact that, like, magical shit has always been proven to be some kind of natural thing later. This will just be another example of that. I mean, they thought that it was magical, I guess, because it was the church's soil or something. Maybe it was blessed by God's big dong, but I mean, they have, like, we have evidence now that it was just like a natural thing that whatever the fuck it contained, the streptomyces, I don't know, was used to create antibiotics. So it would make sense that it would help fight, like, you know, certain illnesses and shit. So anyways, this is just another example that you can use. You can pull out to somebody if they're like, well, magical shit happens. It's like, nah, brother. I don't think you know what you're talking about there, son. Anyways, all right. And then finally on Today I learned that the LDS Church stock riches dropped by $8 billion as it sells Exxon shares and buys Zoom. The church sold Exxon and Marriott stock while purchasing Zoom and Grubhub stock. Opportunism on full display. Any church that gambles billions in the stock market is a business and should be taxed accordingly, and I couldn't agree more with that sentiment. But I find it interesting that they dumped all their stock in Exxon and then buys Zoom and Grubhub. Like, Grubhub, I mean, I get it, but I mean, I don't know if Postmates is a publicly traded company, but I mean, shit, I would think Postmates is probably more sought after than Grubhub, or maybe DoorDash. I don't know. Anyway, I feel like the Grubhub was kind of a dumb thing to do, but I bet you the LDS Church is why the Zoom stock skyrocketed. Cernian says Exxon will recover, and yeah, pretty much. I know a bunch of the oil companies have started to recover now. So anyways, yeah, the LDS Church is definitely a business. They have all of these business ventures, and I don't see why we should be giving them the whole religious status kind of thing. I don't know. Anyways, let me know what you think down below about any of these Today I Learns. I would really, I love reading all the comments where they're discussing the Today I Learned stuff, because I know I love learning new things every day. So, like I said, we're not going to be going into shitty ass science, but if you missed that segment, definitely let me know in the comments or in the live comments right now. That way I can convince myself to keep doing them. And now we have the response video. So Daniel M says, say hi to David and to watch GE. Hey, David, watch GE. Thank you, Daniel, for your stream there, for your comment there. Gary White re-upped his membership. Thank you there, Gary. And then Uhan says monetization activated. Well, you know, I'm so glad that this video is going to make at least a little bit of money. No, I really don't care whether or not videos make money or whatnot. But generally, you know, that's kind of related to how much organic reach a video can get. So how favored it is in the algorithm. But in any case, today we have this woman who's going to be justifying God's evil actions. And originally, this was a response to Cyrus, the skeptic. You want to go over on over to Cyrus's channel. I know he'd appreciate some love over there. This woman put out like 2 or 3 videos responding to Cyrus. I don't know why Cyrus came up in a radar, but you know, he did. So this is I believe it's part 2. Yeah, this is part 2 of a response to Cyrus, and I don't know. Yeah, let's just listen and see, and we'll find out how fucky this particular argument is.
So basically, this is part 2 of me answering this Cyrus atheist guy has 30,000 subscribers, and this has been the most unfair fight. Like, I'm in the middle of a huge crisis, and that I'm having to deal with. But
Wait, how is it an unfair fight? Also, why is it a fight? Like, I really don't ever find Cirrus's content to be combative. So, I mean, I get it that he's a much larger channel than you are, obviously. So, I don't really think that necessarily makes it unfair. I regularly go against, people that have hundreds of thousands of subscribers. I don't consider that an unfair fight. But also, whatever kind of things that you have going on in your life, I get it. We all get kind of bogged down, but also you're not required to respond to any kind of criticism or anything like that. So I don't know why you got to act like, oh, he's making this fight unfair and putting me in an awkward position where I have to like neglect my kids or something in order to make a response. He didn't ask you to do that. He's not making you do that at all. So I don't know why you got to put that on him. Maybe I'm misreading your comment here about being in an unfair fight. But anyways.
And then at the same time, his video, like, I'm ADD and I'm blind. And his video has like turning wheels going around in it. And I'm just like looking at the pretty wheels and having a hard time listening to him. So I've had to just...
God damn you, Cirrus, and your pretty fucking wheels. I don't know why you gotta put so much animation shit in there, Cirrus. By the way, I love you, Cirrus.
walk away from the screen and listen to it while I'm doing like housework and stuff like that, because I can't sit here and look at a pretty wheel and listen at the same time. So, it's disorienting. Stop. I'm going through enough. I can't deal with any more disorienting things. So...
Well, I mean, again, nobody's making you watch it. I also don't mean to criticize her for having ADD or not being able to concentrate because of all these moving objects or anything like that. That's not my point. But, I mean, she does seem to be, like, complaining about things that she has the option of whether or not to do it. Like, I feel like she's telling Cirrus not to style his videos in a certain way just because for her it's hard to pay attention to the words that he's saying while there's other things going on the screen. I mean, if that's the case, just listen to his videos. I don't know why you have to try to dictate your will onto other people's style.
Basically, he said, he's arguing against my argument that because there's suffering doesn't mean that there isn't a loving God. Just because there's suffering doesn't mean that there isn't a loving God that's using it for good. I'm going through one of the greatest times of suffering that I've ever had to go through, and God is using it for good in the end. I don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but I know it's going to play out for good in the end. And we can have that faith as a Christian, but non-Christians, you know, they can't necessarily take that to the bank, because if you're not on his side, he's not going to work things together for good for you.
Okay, so I want to know how she knows that in the end it's only for good. I don't think that she can know that for certain, but I think that she's been told that, and that her Bible tells her that in the end it's for good, and she has this sort of blind faith that it's for good. So also the idea that like non-believers can't understand that a troubling process or some kind of suffering won't end up panning out for the good. I mean, me, myself, I've been through situations in my life where I knew that I had to suffer through something because the end result would be a good thing. So, and I didn't blame, at the time of that, I've had situations where I was both a Christian and where I was a non-Christian. And so at both of those times in my life, I never thought that, well, this is definitely going to pan out for the good because God or anything like that. When I was a Christian, I always rationally, sort of thought it out. Well, I've got to suffer through this because it's going to make me better in this kind of way. And you can kind of see that. But when you're talking about somebody just accepting that they're going to suffer and it's for a good reason, and you don't understand how this could ever be a good reason, I think it's quite reasonable for you to question that, like question whether or not it really is like a good thing to be suffering. So, I feel like she's kind of chastising the non-believers for not just having blind faith that some kind of suffering is meant to bring about good in some kind of fashion, because some kind of suffering could just be fucking suffering just because that's how reality is. I mean, people suffer all the time without some kind of good end result. So just because you can twist and turn an end result into being some kind of good doesn't necessarily mean that it is actually good.
Somebody's playing too loud. But basically, suffering doesn't mean that there isn't a good God who's not using the suffering for good. Lots of things that happen are horrible, but then the results of those bad things end up being good.
I definitely think that the whole idea of an omnibenevolent God, doing things that contradict our own moral nature as to what we see as good and bad and right and wrong, I feel like that's definitely proof that God is not omnibenevolent. Like, there's no reason for a child, like, okay, so just recently, I saw a news article where a guy had beaten and strung up his 4-year-old son because that had been done to him as a child. Of course, the kid ended up dying, and so he's been arrested, and I believe he's awaiting trial now. But the fact is that kind of suffering right there did not have to happen for any kind of reason. And if God is omnibenevolent, why does he cause these sorts of unnecessary suffering? That suffering is not good. This is some like what's her name? Mother Teresa. This is some Mother Teresa shit. Mother Teresa thought that suffering brought you closer to God, and so in that way it was a good thing. And it kind of seems like in the same way here, she seems to think that suffering is always a good thing because God is omnibenevolent, so the only reason why you're suffering is for a good reason. This just seems like a presuppositional argument, though. We got Jesse Shodell. Shodell? I think it's Shodell. Couldn't an all-powerful God create a good outcome without suffering? He has absolute power. That's a good point. I think that the whole all-powerful aspect also is defeated by the presence of suffering, or the need for suffering in order for a good outcome to happen. Are you trying to tell me, lady, that there's not an outcome, that there's not a path to a specific outcome that does not include suffering? Does that mean that God is not all-knowing because he doesn't know these alternate paths in order to get there? Like, I don't know. This entire argument confuses me in general. Hey to the Daily Atheist in the comments. How you doing, man?
So God allows both bad things to happen in order to work it together for good. The crucifixion of Christ, which Christ experienced, was a horrible thing. The most graphic, gruesome death he could ever have died, and it showed his love. So God uses suffering to show love.
This is some abused housewife shit right here. He uses suffering to show love. I mean, how closer to like an abused sort of mindset can you get? I mean, I already think that the relationship between the believer and the Yahweh God in the Bible is already an abusive relationship, but this right here just kind of highlights it. No, you don't have to suffer in order to know somebody loves you. The only way for somebody to show you that they love you is to make you suffer, get the fuck out of that situation, because that is just an abusive, toxic relationship. That goes for Christianity as well as whatever in the fuck kind of situation she's in, because obviously, if she's sitting here thinking that God shows love through suffering, something tells me that she's been abused in some kind of way. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and definitely say it for 100% or anything, but it just, the way that she's talking about it makes me think that something bad's happened. Daniel M says, I can hear God saying, you made me do this. Exactly. That's what I hear when she says what she said. That's what I hear is, you made me do this. I only do this because I love you. Like, that's some abusive shit. Quentin says, GE, do you not preview the video too? I watched it enough to know that I wanted to respond. And so I didn't get a lot of time. Like, I didn't thoroughly watch it through. This stay-at-home thing, teleworking deal has really kind of screwed up with my how I do things in general. So it's been really tough to kind of get into a new groove.
Because when you experience something horrible, then you can understand what something good and wonderful is, you know. Like one of my friends just said, because I've experienced such a horrible man and been married to basically a wife beater and a drug addict, if I ever did find a good Christian man, then it would be like that much better because I would know, you know, the difference.
Well, I mean, I think that you can impart that kind of information without actually having to experience it. I mean, there have been times when Xander has had sort of a privileged mindset about things, and we've, you know, brought it back into, you know, kind of into the real world a little bit for him, and mentioned to him that, like, hey, there are kids out there that starve at night. There are kids out there that don't have food every day. Like, you know, we bring up things like that. And I think that you can definitely, there's definitely a route to understanding what good is without the need for you to directly experience the suffering. You know, like she's saying, you know, if she found, like, if her friend found a good Christian guy, which doesn't preclude him from being a wife beater and an abuser in general, but a good Christian guy, she would know how good he is because she's experienced something different in the past. You can definitely have a foundation that doesn't derive from direct personal experience, but is more taught to you and you understand because you recognize it in other people, or you recognize it from being taught by your parents or friends or anything like that. So I just think that it's such a bad way to rationalize this, because it's fairly obvious that there are other ways to have a foundation for knowing what is good, bad, right, and wrong.
So, you know, knowing the difference between good and evil, and that's where God gave man the choice in the garden to choose to have the knowledge of good and evil, or just live without the knowledge of good and evil, and they chose.
Okay, so that's interesting that you bring up Adam and Eve there. Now, the question that I would have to ask is, did Adam and Eve know it was good and bad? Or did Adam and Eve know that it was good to follow God's order and bad to disobey him prior to eating the apple? Because that kind of seems paradoxical, doesn't it? Because if Adam and Eve are basically like fucking toddlers in the goddamn Garden of Eden, going around touching everything, and God's like, don't touch this, would they have the knowledge innate to them of good and bad to know that it would be bad to disobey God? If they only knew of good and bad and right and wrong after they ate from the tree of knowledge, then how can you really blame them beforehand for doing something that's considered bad only after they ate the fruit? Like, I've never understood that. It's always been so confusing to me. So it's either Adam and Eve had the knowledge of right and wrong prior to eating from the tree, or they didn't know that it was bad, and so they ate from the tree and then realized it was bad, and now they're getting the blame for doing something bad that they didn't realize was bad. You know? That feels like cancel culture.
I made a video about that.
I know.
To have that knowledge. So they chose pain and suffering when they disobeyed God in the garden. They were choosing to have the knowledge of both good and evil, which is a double-sided coin. It's a two-edged sword, because when you know good and evil, when you know evil, you can also know good, but you're also going to have to experience pain. So, like, why do we experience pain? Because we have made the choice. Like, Adam represented mankind, and he made the choice that mankind was going to experience evil so that they could experience good as well.
Well, I mean, technically, in the Adam and Eve story, Eve was tricked by the snake, which is, it's so hilarious that we're having to have that kind of conversation. But Eve was tricked by the snake into eating the apple, and then Eve convinced Adam to eat the apple. And I mean, the thing that God said was that if you eat from this tree, you will surely die. She ate from it. She didn't die. So, I mean, I just think that it's so weird how she puts it that they chose suffering. It's like they didn't choose suffering. They chose to eat from the tree of knowledge, but only because they were convinced to do it. It's not, I don't know. It feels really kind of off-putting the way that she's putting it. She's blaming the victims here, because God could have put the tree of knowledge any fucking where, but where did he decide to do it? Put it right there. If I'm going to design a button for the nuclear warheads, I'm not going to put it right next to Donald Trump's hand at his desk. Okay, it's the exact same kind of thing for Adam and Eve in this tree and God. Okay, you don't put the nuclear button right where these people can push it, because they're going to push that fucking red button. We get Daniel M that says victim blaming. Yeah, exactly. Quentin Van Booven says Peachy is here now. We need a song. Peachy is here now. Everybody say hi, Peachy. We got Jesse Shodel who says the serpent literally told them the truth. Yeah, see, that's another thing, is that the tree of knowledge is more about the snake told them the truth about it, that they wouldn't immediately die, and convinced them to eat it. But the tree of knowledge is basically a metaphor for human knowledge, right? Just any kind of inquisitive kind of nature. Unless that comes from God, then you don't need to search it out. Like, you don't need to consume that. You only need to know about God, is basically what it boils down to. And that's how, in my personal opinion, I feel that Christianity is very anti-knowledge. It's spread all throughout the Bible about how anti-knowledge the Bible actually is. And it starts at the very beginning with the tree of knowledge. I mean, he basically ropes off the tree of knowledge and says, hey, be stupid all your lives and only listen to me and what I say. And it's like, if that didn't happen, what would the world look like now? I believe Dark Matter 2525 has an excellent video on this. If the Christian religion requires Adam and Eve to eat from the tree of knowledge. Otherwise, Adam and Eve would still be around today. All of their offspring would still be around today. Nobody would ever die. Right? And so this earth would be just filled up with people. They would be so overcrowded by this point, even if 6,000 years was the time period in which it happened in. So the Christian religion requires original sin in order for it to even make sense.
Well, so that might be a little complex, but hopefully you can understand that. But these turning wheels are really confusing me, making it really difficult for me. So I have to not look at the screen at all, because this is crazy. And then I use the example, basically as a teenager, I was basically abducted and raped by a stranger. And the good side of that, I mean, horrible.
No, full stop. Immediately. I'm sorry that happened to you. And I'm not going to question whether or not it actually happened. That's ridiculous to even question that at this point. I'm really sorry that happened to you. That's a horrible thing that happened. But I've got to full stop you as soon as you're like, the good side of that is, it's like the good side of being kidnapped by a stranger and raped by them is there's no going forward after that. There is nothing after that that could be a good thing. Just stop right there, and there's no good thing that happens because of that. Okay, that is just not a good side. There's not a good side to that story.
Thing to happen to a teenager, but the good side of that was that I became a very cautious dater and didn't date a lot of guys. Where somebody who hadn't gone through that, without two parents being involved in their life, might have become a really promiscuous girl. So, even
so hold on one second. You're telling me that I feel like what she's saying is that the only women out there that are not promiscuous, which promiscuity is not a bad or wrong thing in general, but the only way that you can know like not to be promiscuous is to be kidnapped and raped. Like, seriously? I feel like this is kind of a false dichotomy here, because what you're saying is that, well, somebody who hasn't been through that experience would be a loose woman, and as if loose woman thing is a bad thing. I feel like there are better ways that you can come to understand, like, oh, you shouldn't sleep around. Like, if you wanted to impart that on your child, there are better ways than having them, not that her parents had her abducted or whatever, but there are better ways than, being abducted and being raped, right? Like, I feel like there are much better solutions to that particular parenting issue. And if that is the only solution that God has for promiscuity or whatever the fuck he wants to control, maybe he needs to go back to the drawing board on this. Because I feel like the drawing board for this particular thing consists of one line. It was like, kidnapped and raped. Yep. Or raped. This is definitely not getting monetized, other than all of the wonderful viewers that have sent in their donations, which Uhan Roderick says, would Hitler's children be punished for his crimes? According to the Bible, they should be. Did Hitler have kids? I'm not sure if Hitler had kids.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways.
And something horrible like that created standards for me. Something so horrible created standards for my life that if I didn't go through something like that, I would not have had any standards and probably would have just been like all these other really sleazy girls that go around to bars and have like 50 different boyfriends and stuff like that.
I mean, okay, first off, I really don't think that you should be, talking about all everybody that has been through a similar traumatic experience. I really don't think that you should be dictating how they should respond or how women in that situation do respond. Like, how people respond to certain traumatic events are very specific to that person. I mean, you had the response of not being promiscuous, which is perfectly fine. It's a fine conclusion, but also you have to understand that that's not the only conclusion that's a good conclusion to draw or to come to, right? Somebody else could have the exact opposite reaction than you did, right? For their own reasons. And that's perfectly fine too. The only thing in this entire situation that is like wrong as far as the conclusion to come to is that being kidnapped and raped is a good thing. That's the only bad conclusion here. Okay? We got a couple of super chats. One from Cadence. Gesundheit. One from Cadence saying anti-grape monetization. And Daniel M, who says, here is some money so you can say graped all you want. But I feel like the only bad thing to come out of this video right here is the idea that you think that your experience was a good thing. It's not. I think that any woman that comes to the conclusion of not being promiscuous or doing whatever the fuck they want, it doesn't really matter. Both of those things are perfectly fine. They're not good, bad, right, or wrong. They're neutral.
So I think that tragic situation that happened was something that brought about something good in my life. No, I wouldn't want that to happen, but it happened, but it brought about something good. And then right after that, a couple of my friends, 2 of them committed suicide. And that was a horrible thing that happened, but that's what helped open the door for me to get saved.
I'm sorry. Did she just rationalize her 2 friends committing suicide as being good things because that event that ended up her being saved? Suicide is never a good thing. You have so many hot bad takes in here. I mean, it's like a fucking Stanley steamer. Okay?
Stanley steamer is useful.
Or what I can't remember. Here in the South, we characterize different types of shits with different things. I'm just saying it's a big, hot, steaming pile of shit, is what I'm trying to say.
It amounts to 3 washers.
Huh?
3 washers worth of shit.
It's 3 washers worth of shit, or 4 geese long worth of shit. But I don't understand what would make a, like, I feel like this is literal evidence of brainwashing, because I feel like you have to be at least somewhat brainwashed into the idea that bad things are good. Like, there's no way that you just come about naturally thinking that something bad is good. Like, you have to be taught that, right? I mean, do you think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would think so.
I mean, so people can learn things about themselves, or about they can take away some good lessons from bad things that happen. Like,
Yeah.
that's possible.
I agree.
So even really, really, really bad things can be used for good, because God is good. God allows evil to accomplish his purposes.
Why does he have to use evil to accomplish his purposes? Why can't he find some non-evil way? Like, I just can't ever see a path to a conclusion, and the only path to get there is the evil fucking one. I mean, there's multiple ways to get to any kind of goddamn conclusion. There's not just the one way. Also, earlier she talked about not her being kidnapped and raped, as allowing her to build a foundation to where she's not just going around and dating people or going to bars as if that's a bad thing, or being or just being fucking normal. I mean, I guess I would consider in the wide range of what would be considered normal. Like, I would consider both of the positions to be normal, but I don't understand why she thinks that there's only one way to build these foundations that she has now. Like, somebody has told her, well, there's only one way to build that kind of foundation, and that way, or that foundation, is God.
So, and atheists don't want to understand that, but it's like...
Hold up. No, it's not that I don't want to understand this. It's not that I can't or won't understand it. It's that it just doesn't make sense to me. And you see, I don't control what convinces me or what makes sense to me. Like, there are some times where I don't understand. Like, right now, I'm working on an application that's a Bible application to, for your phones and shit, right? And React Native just switched over how they're doing their navigation schemes from one particular way to a completely different other way. And so I've had the hardest time understanding the differences in the two until I read a particular thing. And see, the thing is that I didn't understand it before, so I kept reading and learning, and now I do understand it. So it's not that I don't want to understand it or I can't understand it. It's that it literally makes no fucking sense. Does this make sense to you, hon?
Her?
Yeah.
No.
These are the rules you're playing by. I don't care if you want to understand it. It's like, I don't want to understand gravity. Well, too bad. Gravity's happening, So...
So let me get this straight. You're comparing not understanding God being omnibenevolent and just God is good all the time.
All the time, God is good.
You're comparing that kind of logic there to gravity exists? Like, I don't understand that. And it's not because I don't want to understand it. It's because it makes no literal fucking sense. I think I said that a little backwards. It literally makes no fucking sense.
It's kind of funny. But the other thing this Surus guy said is that God is silent. I mean, no. God speaks to us every minute.
Oh, shit. He speaks to us every minute, honey. Did you know that? God speaks to us every minute, guys. I wonder, I mean, if she's hearing voices, she definitely needs to get some kind of psychiatric help. But I also don't understand, like, when I was a Christian, I thought that God talked to us all the time, too. So I guess I understand where she's coming from. But at the same time, I fucking don't understand, because when I was a Christian, I thought God talked to me through like the fucking leaves waving in the air, or a certain person like crossing a red light or something like that, or any kind of other minute natural things that happen. I felt like was a message from God somehow. And that's just ridiculous when I think about how I used to think about God talking to me. I don't understand why I ever believed that. It's such magical fucking thought. We got a few super chats here. We got Jesse Shodel, who says that is such selfish logic about the two friends committing suicide thing. Then we got Daniel M, who says it's the end times, GE, where bad is good and good is bad, and dogs fuck cats and have little cat dogs. Davey Fireable says the only good thing coming from being murdered was... I feel like that's a good place to stop. Daniel M says, glad you got better, GE. I am too. I feel like I can rationally come to conclusions now, because before I would just believe things that were told to me. Like, I had somebody tell me that, God spoke to us through events that happened in our lives and stuff like that. I had somebody told me that God doesn't directly answer prayers like, hey, give me a bike, but he more or less answers prayers for like more strength, or, to feel love or something like that. And so, I mean, I was taught those things just like she's being taught these very poor things.
His creation speaks to us every minute. The heavens declare the glory of God. The firmament showeth his handiwork.
Okay, listen, you cannot act like, oh, gravity's a real thing and it's just as real as whatever she compared it to, God speaking to you, or understanding that bad is actually good. Like, you can't compare those two things and then talk about how the fucking firmament is up there. Like, you can't mix those two things, right?
Like Christ said that the rocks were going to cry out if somebody didn't proclaim him, the rocks would cry out. The creation speaks to us everywhere.
So you think rocks cry out if we don't acknowledge him? Is he like fucking Tinkerbell from Peter Pan? If we don't all clap our hands and say his name, is he gonna die?
Well,
I don't know. She just said that the rocks cry out the glory of God. Like, I don't know how that makes even.
sounds weird.
I know, like, I don't experience rocks screaming God all the time. I don't. I'm guessing she's not talking about like a literal rocks crying, like vocal cords and shit. Maybe just the fact that rocks exist. I don't know. When I look at a rock, I don't think, oh shit, God's a good designer there.
And once you have that paradigm shift, you can see that. But the issue is that you don't have eyes to see. You don't have ears to hear. Because God speaks to us every minute. He's an ever-present help in a time of trouble. He is, the living God. He's with us all the time. So, and I've seen it, just...
That's very uncomfortable, you understand. I mean, so let's think about this, right? If God is everywhere all the time, and God is always with us, where was he when you got kidnapped and then raped? Was he just watching you go through that particular suffering because he considered it a good thing?
He was busy helping somebody win a sports ball game.
Yeah, that's right, honey. He was busy helping somebody win a sports ball game. Just if God were a physical person here, and God was watching somebody, this woman, get kidnapped as a teenager and then raped, like in a van or something like that. If you had this guy that was standing there watching all of this unfold and not do anything about it, and actually was rationalizing it as being a good thing that this was happening, I mean, wouldn't you judge that person to be a pretty horrible person? Like, I know I would. I mean, if I saw her get kidnapped, I would definitely do whatever I could to make sure nothing happened to her and to, get her back from being kidnapped. Like, I would tell the cops. I would fucking throw a banana at the truck or something. I mean, I don't know what I would do, but I would definitely not just stand aside and be like, this is for your own good. Like, who rationalizes that kind of way? If you were to put anybody in God's position right now, like if you put somebody that you trust the most in that position, you're going to drastically change your opinion about that person if they sit there and they watch like children, thousands of children every year getting raped by their pastors, their preachers, by the Catholic Church. If God is everywhere, then he's definitely morally reprehensible and is just watching this kind of shit unfold just because he loves to jerk off to it. That statement has as much evidence behind it as the Bible does, by the way.
Even in these circumstances that I've gone through, which have seemed totally hopeless, like, how am I going to get out of this situation? How am I going to move on with life? God's helping me every step of the way. Like, I didn't have a ride to go pick up my car, and this old man just happened to give me his phone number, and I was able to call him and get a ride. So just like all sorts of little things where God is in those things.
So just general nice, this is kind of weird because I really don't know how you would discern like where God is and where God isn't. Because if God is in the evil things that happen and the evil things are good things that are done by God, and then also just the general nice things that people do for you, God is in that too, then it seems like, yeah, if you're going to define God as being everywhere and just everything it has God in it, then the evil shit now becomes good shit. And, you just deserve all of it because some woman ate an apple like 6,000 years ago, according to you. Like, I don't. This is very confusing, and I feel like it's not that I don't want to understand it. It's that it literally makes no fucking sense.
And you can choose to see it or not see it. You can choose to see him working in your life, or you can choose to be blind. You can choose to hear him working in your life, or you can choose to be deaf.
I mean, it's not really a choice because I don't hear God. I don't see God. Like, I feel like what she's telling me here is that unless you force yourself to see and hear God working in your life, then of course you're not going to see God working. I feel like it's kind of a low-key admission that there's no real, physical evidence for God. You have to force yourself to see those things and to rationalize those things as being God's work in order for you to see that God is in the work or God is everywhere. Like, you have to force yourself to believe this shit. I can't say I disagree with her.
So, but it all boils back to trust. Like, you trust in Jesus and he saves you. It's not, I believe there was a man named Jesus that died on the cross. It's not like you're believing a certain creed. It's that you're trusting in what he did.
Well, I mean, so like if you trusted in I don't know if she trusted in Jesus when she had her ordeal, but how did Jesus save you then? Didn't Jesus save other girls from being quote unquote promiscuous in other ways that don't include, like, the kind of suffering that you went through? I mean, I'm asking these questions sincerely because I feel like your logic here is flawed. I feel like you're rationalizing these things in a way that just is not congruent with the other things that you believe. Uhan Roderick says, you have a God who simply watches it and says, when you're done, I'm going to punish you. If I could stop a person from raping a child, I would. That's the difference between your God, between me and your God. And that's a quote from Tracy Harris, which is one of the best quotes out there that you can find on the internet, because it definitely does highlight the differences between good and moral people that don't believe in God and the God of the Bible, because they don't want to see that the things that God is claimed to do or purport to do, or the rationality behind the theology behind the Bible, requires God to have done horrible things and be okay with it and call it good.
Well, and religious people just rationalize it.
Oh yeah, I know. People, religious people just rationalize it anyways, but I feel like they're rationalizing it doesn't really make sense. Like,
no, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it doesn't really matter, because they'll just say nothing God does is evil, everything he does is good, and there must be a reason behind what he's doing. Like, they just use apologetics to get out of it all.
Oh yeah, they definitely do. But I guess my issue here is that it presupposes that God is good, all because the Bible says that God is good.
Sure, I agree.
Yeah.
To save you. And that's totally different. It's not like Catholicism where we believe in a creed. It is living faith where we believe in Jesus, that he died for us, and we put our trust in him and ask him to save us. Like,
wait, dude, she just said that Catholics only believe in a creed.
What does that mean?
Well, like, that they don't have sincere belief in Jesus or trust in Jesus, and that they just recite things. I mean, both KC and I used to be Catholic. Granted, KC was a better Catholic than I was. But, I mean, when I was a Catholic, I didn't just believe in a creed.
Well, I mean, we recited the Nicene Creed at church every week.
Right.
But, like, that's...
I mean, that's not...
The Nicene Creed is a declaration of your faith, which includes all of the things that other Christians also believe.
Well, right.
In regards to Jesus and God.
Well, yeah, I'm wondering if she's just talking about the, like, mechanics of being Catholic and describing and mistaking the mechanics of being Catholic to the faith that Catholics have.
Like, is she mad about the ritual?
Well, she's not mad about it, but she's saying that Catholics don't have, what it boils down to is she says that Catholics don't have sincere belief. They just have a creed that they believe in, and they don't have some kind of living trust or living belief in Jesus.
No, that's not true at all.
Yeah, I know. I know that. It's ridiculous. They always want to try to make Catholics out to be like fake or not real Christians, and that's just not even true. So I feel like she has a very skewed view of her own religion as to what it means to be like Christian. I don't know. I really don't understand why like Christians have to draw those specific lines now. Like in the past, it wasn't like a wars against, like Christians and atheists. It was wars against Christians versus Christians. It was just they were differing in ways to worship the same God.
Like I said, it's not about going to church. It's not about practicing a certain set of rules. It's about a living faith that once you put your faith in Christ and you trust in him, then, you're his and he saved you and you become his child and he guides you through life. Obviously I'm going through a bunch of different changes that I have to navigate, but God is guiding me every step of the way through reading the word, through him sending other Christians into my life saying, hey, Alyssa, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? And
I'm just wondering how, I really don't think that there's a way that you can discern, like, God sending something and, like, anything else happening. Like, of course, she's presupposing that God exists everywhere and is a part of everything, but then do you not consider, like, Satan to be an active participant in this world? There are pretty much all Christians that I know of accept that Satan does some things or that demons do some things in this world. So if God exists in the evil that happens and God exists in the good that happens, even the mundane good that happens, like, just random Christians walking into your life or something like that, like, I don't see how you'd be able to discern, when it was like supposedly Satan. I don't think Satan walks into your life. I don't think God walks into your life, obviously. But I'm just saying that on your view, I don't see how Satan or the evil antagonist of the Christian story really factors into anything if God is there for the evil shit and the bad shit.
Like giving me random stuff that I really need that I'm like, oh no, what am I going to do?
Just to reiterate, these are natural things that happen. These are natural instances that are occurring. I really don't think that you need to think about God as being the one that just sent somebody randomly into your life. They could have wandered into your life. They could have not wandered into your life. But I really don't see any evidence to suggest that God is the one that dispatches these people. We get Quentin Van Booven that says, how do you suck God's 15-footer? Oh, it's different than me. Well, then we must fight. Wait, you don't pucker your lips first? Prepare to die, motherfucker.
It's crazy stuff like that where God is good and he shows you all the time that he's good. If he wasn't good, you wouldn't have breath in your body. And if he wasn't good, you wouldn't have food to eat.
Honey, if God wasn't good, you wouldn't be able to breathe or eat.
I mean, I'm eating right now.
Casey is eating right now, so that means that God is good.
I mean, these honey wheat pretzels are pretty fucking delicious.
Yeah, they are.
I guess they did come from godliness because they came from Ray Comfort.
They did. Ray Comfort sent me a fruit basket that had pretzels and shit in it. Most of this
honey wheat pretzels.
Honey wheat pretzels is what they are. I gotta tell you, he sent us all that stuff, and I really can't eat most of it. Like there was some meat and cheese in it.
There's a bag of almonds.
There's a bag of almonds too.
We've already eaten. You had the cheese yesterday. Some of the cheese yesterday.
Ray Comfort gave me nuts to put in my mouth, guys.
Everything that you have is a reflection of God's grace and his goodness to you. So I don't know what he's talking about, that God isn't, constantly in communication with us, because he is.
Okay. So that's where her video ends. I don't know why. I don't exactly know why she's broken it up like this. It seems very sporadic, but this one was like 9 minutes long, so that's why I decided to only cover it. But the I still don't understand. I'm still coming away from this not understanding your theology, and I don't know if you're going to watch this or see this at all. And I know that I've taken some lighthearted sort of comments about how crazy your whole idea sounds, but I really do want to know, like, if you were going through the suffering that you had mentioned earlier that you suffered through, and you physically saw God watching this happen, like, how would that change? Like, how would that change if God was sitting there reassuring you that, oh, this is for your own good? Would you just accept that, and would you happily go through that kind of suffering? Were you happily going through that suffering at that point in time? Were you not a Christian at that time, and do you feel like you were being punished? Like, I'm coming away from this video not understanding why you think that suffering is good. I mean, I've heard a bunch of presuppositional stuff of just, well, God is good, and therefore anything that happens is good because God is in everything, right? And you're just presupposing this without any real rationale behind God being in everything. Also, I don't understand why God planning on evil things happening to somebody is the only possible route to a certain conclusion for you. I would think that if God is all-knowing, he would definitely be able to come up with alternate routes that get you to the same conclusion that do not include that evil or suffering. And just with your particular event of suffering there, you have multiple examples of different women that come to the conclusion of not being promiscuous, or not going to bars, or not being that way. You have multiple different ways in which to get to that particular conclusion. But also you have kind of this inherent idea that it's bad to be anything other than that one thing. Like, it's that one thing and everything else is bad. Which at this point, I really don't understand your classification of bad. Because if we follow this theology out here, if being promiscuous is bad and God is in everything, then doesn't that mean that you're promiscuous because it's for your own good for God? Like, I feel like if you applied this same logic to the things that you consider to be bad, you would understand why I'm confused why you think actual bad shit is good. So, I don't know. I doubt she's going to watch this, but if she does, I hope that you, Miss, will, consider my thoughts on your video here, and maybe you leave me some comments down below. If she comments down below, don't give her a hard time about things. Be supportive, be helpful to her, because I really think that she just needs some good conversation and not ridicule, So anyways, that's going to be it for the video. Get back to the main cam here. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I really appreciate everybody being here. I appreciate the Skeptic Mafia and everybody else that has donated, through the super chats on this live stream. You guys are awesome. I appreciate that, even though this is a very great live stream. But in any case, if you guys will please leave me a comment down below. We're going to be heading over to the Skeptic Mafia comments now to read those. But if you don't want to stick around for that, that's cool too. Make sure you leave a comment and make sure you smash that like button and subscribe if this is your first time here. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice. Bye, heathens.
Bye, y'all. But don't go.
don't go, because we're going to read the Skeptic Mafia comments. Because I'm sure that we got some great comments over here on the Skeptic Mafia. If you guys don't know, part of the Skeptic Mafia perks, if you're a mafioso, at the mafioso level, is you get to comment on the video that we're going to be talking about that week. So this week, the Mafia had about 15 responses for the Mafia, so that's pretty good. We're gonna find out what exactly they have to say about it. So first up, we got Sean J, who says, "Fixed it for her. I'm going through one of the greatest times of suffering that I've ever had to go through. I have to believe that God is using my suffering for good in the end. Otherwise, my suffering is meaningless in the face of a God that has the power for me not to suffer." I agree. I think that if she is going through suffering, and God is to blame for that, I kind of feel like, God's kind of a piece of shit. That's just how I feel about the Yahweh version of God in the Bible. Michael W. Roble says, "First she says she is ADD and blonde, and at another point she says she is Catholic, I think. Well, I think she was complaining about Catholics. Meanwhile, she talks about suffering like a Calvinist. Suffering glorifies God. If this woman is for real, for which I have no doubt, she needs a lot of help that she is not going to find in a church. And if not for her sake, for the sake of her kids. This was almost as depressing as listening to German hipsters discussing a Russian novel or a Swedish play."
Banta is saying that they made an edit, so I don't know when you pulled these comments up.
Oh, okay.
But you might want to refresh.
Yeah, I got it. Crap, not top comments. Okay, we got Vanta Blue. What a word salad. Thank you, Michael, for your input on it. What a word salad. She had me both laughing and crying. I'm sure she's easy to hypnotize if she loses concentration so easily. No, crucifixion is far from the most horrendous way to die. To use a biblical one, the iron bull is way worse. It basically cooks a person alive. There are more inventive ways out there. Just ask if you want to learn a few. That's an interesting point, because Christians were kind of on point with the whole, with the torturing and murdering of people. Like, they were innovative in those particular areas. God putting someone through terrible things to show he loves them? You do realize that's the very basis of abuse, right? Yes, it is, Vanta. That's correct. Waving it away with, "I'm sure something good will come out of this. I just don't know what yet," is very unhealthy, no matter if it's about your God or your partner. If any of you watching recognize that in yourselves, reach out to a trusted friend and ask for help. They already know. I agree. If you do find yourself in a situation where you're talking about somebody hurting you or putting you through some kind of suffering because they love you, I would definitely try to recognize that and reach out to somebody that can help. It's kind of sad how much she's trying to convince herself of what she keeps repeating in various ways. It seems to be very much her lifeline. I do hope she manages to work through her painful times and is able to stand up straight with religion's help or not. Stay safe, people. Edit. Is God willing to prevent evil but not able? Then he's not omnipotent. Is he able but not willing? Then he's malevolent. Is he both able and willing? Then whence cometh evil? Is he neither able nor willing? Then why call him God? Epicurus. I agree there, Vanta, and I like the edit that you added at the very end. That's very good quote. Jonathan Nickel. Firstly, I feel sorry for her situation, that she has suffered hardship and an abusive husband. She claims this made her stronger, and perhaps she did come out the other side with determination not to let herself go through it again. That is understandable, but it doesn't excuse the abuse in any way. Not only is she siding with her attacker, claiming she is somehow better off for it, she is de facto suggesting anyone who hasn't suffered, as she describes it, is missing out in some fashion. What he did was wrong. He injured her psychologically as well as physically. She admitted that her character changed as a result of what happened. Then, for the last half of her video, she just gets preachy, asserting creation, asserting the biblical story without providing any evidence. She says that people who don't agree with her don't have eyes to see or ears to hear. How about you don't have evidence to consider? What evidence we do have disproves your creation story. Adam was not my representative. Firstly, I didn't elect him, and secondly, we know that that the Adam and Eve story is fiction. Unfortunately, I don't know if she will ever realize that. Tragically, she was abused on two fronts, and her attacker was a book. Until she puts that book down, she may never be able to see past it. Well, I do believe that she's kind of part of the new IFB movement, so I don't think that she's going anywhere anytime soon. Trickster! Okay, grape is good because it saves you from becoming a quote-unquote slut. So all the quote-unquote sluts have just never been raped. Is that what she's trying to infer? She also said good comes from suffering. I'd like to know what good comes from such things as the millions of Jews during World War II. I don't think it brought many of them to Jesus. How is genocide good? What good comes from it? Oh well, time for the shill. Like this, share that, and subscribe if you haven't. GE's a great guy to know, and he does his homework. Want to see his vids early? Drop a comment and have the man GE read it live on air. Then just hit that join button, and for a few dollars you get early access, a cool badge by your name, and some of the best emojis out there today. Stand up and use your voice. Educate yourself, and please wash your hands. Thank you, Trickster. You're awesome, man. Ulterior Motif says, this chick is bats. She like one if those people who was slutty but now wants to denounce all that to appease her new boyfriend, Jesus. I understand what you mean there, Ulterior. Drew's book reviews, which, if you guys don't know, Drew has put out a book review on the sequel to The Handmaid's Tale. I can't remember what that's exactly called. Drew may be able to tell you in the comments right now if he's listening. But he just put out a review on it, and I have to say, it's a pretty good review. So go and check it out, because The Handmaid's Tale, I know I like the TV show. I didn't read the book. But as I know, books are always better than the TV shows or movies, either one. So Drew, first I want to say I am sorry that this woman has suffered so much trauma in her life, and I am happy for her if her faith brings her comfort. That I did not mention that in the review of her video, but I don't want it to seem like I look down on people for looking to religion to get comfort or to be able to help in their recovery from such a traumatic experience. I think whatever way that you can cope with that, and as long as it doesn't hurt other people, I think that it's fine. And that you need to do whatever you need to do in order to cope with what you've been through. So if her faith has brought her comfort, I definitely agree that I'm glad that it did. That being said, saying that God loves us so he makes us suffer is quite frankly one of the worst forms of reasoning and justifications one can give. It removes the responsibilities of evil acts from those who commit such crimes because it justifies them in the name of God. In Margaret Atwood's books, The Handmaid's Tale and The Testaments is the one that he just dropped yesterday. The Testaments. Go check that out. Women were beaten, denied basic education, married off as children, ceremoniously raped, etc., all in the name of God, and indoctrinated into believing it was for their own good. What she describes sounds eerily similar to the justifications the commanders used in Gilead. If you find this ideology as horrendously evil as I do, then hit that join button and subscribe. And until next time, keep on reading. P.S. If you haven't read the Testaments, jump over to my channel and check out the review I posted on my channel this morning. Psst, or PSS, sorry, I sounded that out. Pardon my vain self-promotion on your channel, but at least I didn't make you say Star Trek is better than Star Wars, right? Lol, oh, you just did! Damn. But I definitely agree that you guys should check out his Testaments review. I don't think that we're all the way caught up on the Handmaid's Tale TV show, but I don't know. If I had more time, I would definitely read the Handmaid's Tale, like the actual book. Daniel M. It sucks that she is having a hard time. People need to seek professional help when needed. It really does wonders for a person. I went through depression myself. Please, if anyone is suffering abuse, depression, or anything else, get help. If you know someone going through those things, let them know you care and get them help. You might save a life. And I couldn't agree more. I know that I was pretty depressed for a long time. I went through my own depression, and I still go through some things sometimes, but me getting help has been the best thing, because I went to a therapist or a counselor, and I talked to them about my issues. I also saw a psychiatrist at one time, and those things really did help equip me to be able to deal with it when it come up. And I was more effective at getting through those times and reducing the amount of times that I feel those things. I do not know her particular situation. In my life, things didn't start going well for me until after I stopped waiting on God to fix shit for me. If it was God allowing bad things to happen to people to show them the good things, then where is the line drawn, and why am I not a millionaire? Once again, we are left with you have to trust Yahweh God. That's the only explanation that they can give, is God. Some kind of God explanation. I understand trying to take a negative and turn it into a positive, but it doesn't take God to do that. I find I can take pride in my own accomplishments as well as take responsibility and learn from my downfalls. I agree, but I also don't think that a negative has to be turned into a positive. I think that you can acknowledge the bad shit, right? You can acknowledge that this is a pointless suffering that didn't need to happen whatsoever, but you can still see, I guess, the silver lining of it, which I don't think that there's a silver lining to her experience at all. But other forms of suffering, I think that you could see the silver lining to it. Let's see. I had an accident at work and got sulfuric acid burns on my legs and had to have surgery. Once I got back, I got a desk job doing electrical drafting. God didn't do that for me. I worked my ass off in school to learn drafting, and I learned to be even more cautious around those types of chemicals. Good. Also, excellent on the, going to school for the drafting, so that you had a fallback thing. We all see where prayer gets people. They end up on TV looking like a moron, having not fixed anything. Come on, Kenneth. Third time's a charm, right? I'm guessing that's when the vaccine comes out. He will get on TV and say, I prayed for that. You all saw me. Kenneth Copeland, he tried to blow the coronavirus away. Literally. He was on camera going, trying to blow that shit away. Motherfucker, that's how you spread it. All right, here we got Chrismer. He's always got some great ASCII. I sat there and watched the entire thing, and I have absolutely nothing. It's like she spoke words, and those words had some sort of meaning to them, but it had no depths whatsoever. Like everything's all surface level BS. Anyway, I got no sleep last night, which is probably why I didn't get much out of it. So before I take a quick nap, I'm going to drop some ASCII on you. Boom. Thanks. And I absolutely mean it. Thank you for all you do, GE. Now on to the shilling. Y'all need to go ahead, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and if you have the wherewithal, join the Skeptic Mafia. And for the extra Scholastic bonus, go ahead and download Crestus. John, will you tell them all about it? Crestus is an awesome app if you want to know about first century Christianity and the evidence supporting that Jesus existed. Definitely go check that out if you're interested in that particular subject area. Jude Kane, 726. Suffering can exist whether something is actually beneficial to us or not. So I will agree that would not indicate anything. Most forms of suffering can be traced to a physical cause of some kind, even if it's emotionally driven. That is chemicals and stimulus response. We do not see an entity causing suffering either way. We do not need something else to make us feel better because that is also separate from whether something is beneficial or not. We can feel good for reasons other than God. Suffering still exists whether the events of the Bible happened or not. I wouldn't want to escape suffering because then even the bad things would feel good and that benefits no one. Suffering doesn't have to be associated to morality because you can feel bad regardless if you want to or not. Feeling bad and something actually being harmful are separate things. If things are harmful to you, it doesn't matter how you feel about it, it shouldn't be done to you. Abuse is harmful by definition. You did not need to suffer to be able to recognize when something is going to be harmful to you, even if you had to learn it. It can be done safely. Being less promiscuous will not protect you from that either, and neither will being Christian, since plenty of them are still abusive. If your entity allows evil, they are not good. Most people do not have voices in their head. I'd have that looked at. Anything that doesn't have a speaker or vocal cords can talk either, that we know of. It doesn't matter what my senses are. The only thing that can be perceived as affecting me are physical phenomena, and they do not change on a whim. None of that demonstrates an entity of any kind. If I pretend it's there, then it's there. That is intellectually dishonest and outright denial of reality. Good. I appreciate your commentary on this, and I agree with everything that you said. GK, thank you. Uhan Roderick, I've got nothing. Pretty sure she doesn't even believe the BS falling out of her mouth. My brain started daydreaming about the Turkey Club sandwiches. That's how interesting it was. Subscribe now. Do it. Thumbs up. Thumbs that mother up. Hit that join. All right. Jane Pewsecker. After reviewing this video, I can say I agree with her in that having spiritual life can give you inner peace and inner calm that can't be found in the material and secular world because the material world is only temporary. I think that I've definitely found inner peace and inner calm, and I don't think that I need religion for that, but I understand that you feel like you need it there, Jane. However, it seems to me that she is having a moral absolute argument here and presenting a one-world religion view that unless you believe in her chosen God and her chosen way of relating to God, goodness cannot exist and goodness cannot happen to people unless you believe in what she does. I feel like that is exactly what she was trying to do. I'm not sure what type of Christian she is, but seems to me she's highly evangelical when it comes to her views of Jesus as biblical Unitarian-leaning Christian humanitarian. So yeah, she is very. She's part of the new IFB movement. I remember seeing videos on her channel about the new IFB. And how they were giving her gifts and everything like that. So I'm fairly certain that she's part of that movement. I have my opinion on the divinity nature of Jesus, but that is a whole other conversation for another day. While she does make some good points in staying spiritual, being grateful to God when good things do happen, goodness alone and evil alone have nothing to do with what religion you belong to. There have been some horrible and awful things that ministers, pastors, leaders, and elders have done in the name of religion, from embezzlement of church money, raping children, abusing your wife and kids. I can continue on with the list of cons, but I will stop there. However, There have also been people that have started organizations that help abused women and children, women who have been sex trafficked, world hunger, etc. Good and evil lies in the mind and in the heart of the person, not religion alone. All religion does is bring out who the person really was to begin with. Sometimes that is a good thing, sometimes it's bad. It is all in who that person was to begin with before they believed in that religion. I agree. It's regardless of what religion you have, there are good people doing good things and bad people doing bad things. But I do agree with the quote that says that in order to get a good person to do bad things, that requires religion or some kind of brainwashing of some kind. And I feel like, not that the girl tonight did bad things, but in order to rationalize bad things as good, it takes religion in order to get somebody to do that, or any other brainwashing kind of situation. Not that all religion is brainwashing. Damn, Quentin had some shit to say. Holy fuck, I'm AHDH and can focus with shit in the background. That excuse is just awful. Quick update, I watched Cyrus's video without my glasses and I'm 2200 and I could still focus. If this lady has that much trouble focusing with spinning shit, she needs to get some meds. They work. GE, I can already tell I'm going to need a drink for this tonight, but unfortunately I'm previewing this in the morning and have to work, so no drink for me right now. God is using the suffering, the sufferer for good in the end. What the fuck kind of logic is that? Would you use that logic on an abusive partner? Well, they're beating me and emotionally abusing me, but they're using it for good in the end. No, you wouldn't, but you make the excuse for God because suffering is inherently not good. It doesn't matter if good can come from it, it is not good. So if there was this all-loving, all-knowing, all-caring, ever-present God, he would know how to get us to the same endpoint without all the suffering. Crucifixion is not the most gruesome thing. It's gruesome for sure, but I'm fairly sure being disemboweled or burning alive would be considered by most more gruesome. Again, if God was all-knowing and all-loving, he could show us this love without the suffering would be a possibility. Well, why? Because he knows everything about us, which is why we also don't really have free will unless you want to give up on God's omus. Vice Rhino did a great video on this recently. Y'all should check it out. Also, GE, hope you don't mind a quick shout out to him. I love Vice Rhino, so no. Vice is the best. Grape is not a good thing, period. It doesn't matter that you are now more cautious when you're dating. I get it, there aren't always huge red flags, but in most cases, I'm sure there are little things here and there that should let you on. You disobeyed me, now suffer. Do we not see how this is the same logic used by abusive partners and you said you were with one at one point, so you let God slide but not them? Okay, good Christian man. Holy fuck, don't you know that there are plenty of quote, good Christian men who rape kids, and there are plenty, I'm sure, that abuse partners, and if they do, I'm almost sure they are justified in the eyes of the Lord according to the Bible. GE, correct me if I'm wrong. Nope, I think that you are correct. God is good. Holy fuck, that line irks me like KC hearing someone say Star Wars is better than Star Trek. Yeah. Holy fuck, do you read your own fucking book and God commanded genocide? God commanded genocide. Said to take virgins as trophies and sex slaves. Kill everything. Don't leave a goddamn sheep alive. I don't care if you're just going to sacrifice it to me later. Kill everything. But I know those people did wrong in the eyes of the Lord. They sucked another god's dick. Not only that, but he himself committed genocide. Why? Because people weren't sucking his dick. I know, you gotta suck the Yahweh dick. If you suck anybody else's dick, you're fucked. In more ways than one. God is good. Bull fucking shit. Fucking read your own damn book and tell me God is good. The only good to come from those actions is his chosen people having the proper amount of fear for him. The only way people can say that after reading the Bible is by choosing what they want to believe and then plugging their ears and going, la, 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 I can't hear you. Essentially, to all the stuff they don't like. Sorry for that little bit of a rant. I'm a little over halfway through, and fuck, I want to quit, but I'm going to keep going. You can choose to see him working in your life or be blind. None indoctrinated in translation, you can either choose to attribute normal things to God or not and see them as normal things. Holy fuck, trusting some old man who gave you a number to take you to get your car? That's just plain dumb. I'm glad it worked out for you, but that is dumb. Yeah, I kind of had that thought too when she said that. It was like, I don't know if you should be trusting strangers. So, is it just trusting in Jesus that gets me saved? Is that what you're saying? I could rape and kill all I want. Grape and kill all I want, but as long as I trust in Jesus, I get in heaven? If that is what she is saying, well, then I don't think I want to go to heaven. I agree. There she goes again. God is good. Fuck, lady, read your own damn Bible. Gee, I need you to know I had to watch that video twice to make this comment because I accidentally deleted my first one. Now I don't know how I'm going to segue into shilling, but we're just going to do it. Hey, you. Yes, you. Have you hit that like, share, and subscribe button yet? No. Why not go down there and hit it? I'm not asking. While you're down there by that sub button, hit that bell to be notified when GE posts new videos. Also consider hitting that join link to get lots of perks like some sweet ass emojis, a monthly hangout, ability to preview the stream's video, and make yourself need a drink midday. Help choose the stream's videos. Oh, and make these comments where we all make GE say Star Trek is better than Star Wars. Anyway, that's my time. I've got to run. Ha.
Also, Vice showed up.
Vice, yeah, I didn't say his name 3 times. Hey, you Vice.
There were at least 3 people in the chat that were like, "Oh my god, I love Vice Rhino. He is awesome."
Oh, so collectively we all said it 3 times.
Collectively, we said his name 3 times.
He showed up.
That's how demonic things work.
Yeah, I know. Alex Baranowski. First of all, apologies in advance if I misspell or have slightly poor style. Grammar, I just woke up and I've yet to caffeinate. Crucifixion of cross isn't the most gruesome way to die. There is an execution style where they cut your thorax open and pull your lungs out of your chest so you slowly and painfully suffocate. Need I mention flaying? No, you know, I agree. That's pain. That's horrible. As far as the original sin being a choice, define choice. A conscious action, sure, but Adam had no knowledge of what he was doing beforehand. That's exactly my point. I don't think she needed to be abducted and raped to be careful with her dating choices. I know people who are careful in their dating lives, but who haven't had that experience. I know people who had both parents present and who are promiscuous. I know people who have sexual trauma and are now promiscuous as a way to cope. And I know this sounds like an appeal to anecdote, as does her statement, but there are studies with data showing that sexual behavior after trauma often goes toward one extreme or the other. She nonetheless fails to demonstrate that A, having her experience is the reason she specifically has her current dating habits, and B, that specific experience reliably results in that habit. It would be like me feeding a Luna moth caterpillar an oak leaf, and because it died, concluding that oak kills Luna moth caterpillars. I had a sample size of 1, which is an issue. I have no idea if that caterpillar would have died anyhow. Additionally, disease or something could actually be the cause of the insect's demise, and it would be careless to dismiss that. I am all for people healing from horrible life events. I am working on some of that myself. However, it is dangerous to try to make people see their horrific experiences as useful. It doesn't generate positivity, and it invalidates the negative feelings that stem from it. I would also say that turning it around into a positive, as the woman in the video did, I think could allow that type of behavior to continue. Like, I feel like that negates the horrible actions done by the individual and would allow them to do it again, because I guess it's a good thing that they did it. Like, I don't know. I just feel like this is the same kind of logic that's used in a lot of church communities whenever they have somebody that is like molesting and raping people in their congregation, and they just allow it to happen. Not saying that they use this particular kind of logic. I'm just saying it's the same type of logic. I could argue that their neurotic adherence to religion and the various tics you have, tics you can notice when she looks at the camera are due to her trauma, which isn't positive. People don't process shit by thinking maybe this needed to happen to me. It's definitely not healthy, that's for sure. What does need to happen to more people is they need to join the Skeptic Mafia. For as little as $5 a month, you get access to some awesome GE content early and see exclusive videos. Very handy if you work in a lab where you spend 2 hours cutting cloth or plant matter and feeding insects alone and need a good listen in the background. Hey, we're cutting cloth and plant matter, listening in the background kind of conversation. You can also comment on these videos and make GE say whatever the fuck you want. Like Star Wars and Star Trek both suck. We shouldn't glorify space travel when we don't have all of the knowledge about the Earth down pat yet. David Attenborough documentaries about wildlife are superior to all of that space shit they put on television.
Who the fuck wrote this comment?
Alex. Don't forget to wash your damn hands. And please don't inject or ingest cleaning products. I think everybody needs to not do that. Even Donald Trump, with him shining sunlight up his asshole, I don't inject or ingest cleaning products. And then finally we have Michelle Foster. First, I'll be back later to edit this after I watch the video. Wow, I didn't even get through the whole video. This is just awful. She is using the same excuses someone uses when they have an abusive person in their life. No, just no. You do not need to have something negative just to be able to fully appreciate something positive. You can have absolutely zero things go wrong in your life and still be able to appreciate and understand that you've had a perfect life. I don't need to eat rotten food to appreciate good food. That's a really good fucking example. Yes, sometimes bad things can help you appreciate certain things you would have never really thought about, but you literally do not need that bad thing to happen. She's an enabler. So many religious people have this learned helplessness so ingrained in them, they just sit back and accept the bad because it's their fault, or they just need to leave it in God's hands because he has a plan. She said she was with a truly awful man, and she thinks it's good because God has a plan and that plan is going to be good. What if his plan is for her to end up 6 feet under? Is that still good? What about her kids? Would they think it's good? Sorry, I know I'm ranting. I haven't slept at all, and she managed to infuriate me. Insert Shillery, Star Wars is greater than everything. Fight me. Damn, we're going to end up with a mafioso war over Star Trek, Star Wars, and David Attenborough. Oh, man. Anyways. God, got through all the comments. That took a bit. Let's see. We've got let's see. Let's see. Jesse Schobel says, "What about people who can't afford to eat?" That was a good point. Sorry, I didn't read that earlier. Uhan says, "Dear God, why are our breathing and eating holes combined?" I have no idea. Pine Snake, PSA, GE has a massive penis. Bow to the noodly appendage. Daniel M says, "Tell David, eat with your spoon." Hey, David, eat with your spoon.
Maybe David needs a spork.
A spork?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, tonight's video was definitely odd. Like, I never thought I'd see somebody justifying so many horrible things as being good as I've seen with this particular movie tonight, video tonight, which I should really put the I always
Michelle Foster said, "May the sport be with you." I don't know if any of you know this, but today is the anniversary of Endgame, which before it meant something to Marvel, it was the series finale for Star Trek Voyager, and it happened on this day in 2001.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. A little bit of Star Trek trivia there for you.
Yeah, nice. Well, so I just put the link to her original video in the description. I'm doing this and I'm prefacing with, don't go over there and just harass or berate her about things, because I think that she's just been told what to think, and I think her having some compassion thrown her way could be a good thing for her. So Jane, I just think that she needs some compassion. So if you do go over there, you do leave a comment, try not to be too harsh and critical towards her. Well, be critical, but say it in a way that doesn't come off as
Don't be a dick.
Yeah, don't be a dick. Don't be like, fuck your God kind of thing. That's just going to drive her farther away from a reasonable or rational situation, mindset. But Jane Pusecker said, "We just love you both that much, GE, to leave long comments." Thank you so much, Jane. I appreciated your comment, because even though we differ on the spiritual side of things, I think that you had a really great input there. Michael W. Robles says, "Do some research on the Calvinists. They are truly despicable. Scholar fiction might help with this." Yeah, I haven't done a lot of research onto the Calvinist theology, but I have heard Skylar talk about it and talk to Matt Slick and all them, so it's all that interesting. Gary White and Godless Engineer, I got my membership back and got a game to do a video. Nice. Awesome. That's cool. Michelle Foster, Atheist Bible, don't be a dick.
Yeah, nice.
Oh, so I do want to tell you guys about something I've been working on, and that's this app.
What are we gonna call it?
I don't know. Right now, it's just labeled GE's Bible.
We gotta come up with an app.
Yeah, we gotta come.
I mean a name for the app.
Yeah. So basically, which I've actually got my phone, and I can probably get it set up to run here real quick. Oh, I don't know if it'll run exactly. I'll try to run it. But anyways, it's going to be an app that has the Bible in it, but it's also going to have the public domain version of the Book of Mormon, the Apocrypha, and the Pearl of Great Price, and the Doctrines and Covenants, the whole Book of Mormon set, right? It's got all of those, and it's also got nifty collections of violent Bible verses, misogynistic Bible verses. And I'm working on getting more collections sort of built up, but I've got a good set of 4 different things, 4 different collections that you can go through, where you're just going to be able to go to the collection and find a violent Bible verse. But you're also going to be able to access the Book of Mormon from the app, as well as the Catholic version of the Bible, as well as the Apocrypha, if you want to read the Apocrypha. So I'm working on it right now, and I'm trying to get it. I've got all of the data situated. I've just got to work on the front end of it. And I think that
And the front end means the interface.
Yeah, the UI, yeah, the interface of it, which I don't know if I've got it in a state where it'll bring up right now, but I'm about to check. It's building 94%, 100. There we go. So it's very bare bones right now, but screwed it up. Hold on. So it's very bare bones right now, which I don't know if you guys can see it all that well. Very bare bones, but this is pulling from this right here is an example of a lot of work, because I've got it pulling from a list of violent Bible verses, and then it's also pulling from a very specific version of the Bible in a database that I have set up on it. This one's Daniel 5:29 through 30. Then by the order of Belshazzar, they put a purple robe on Daniel and a gold chain around his neck, and a public statement was made that he was to be a ruler of high authority in the kingdom. That very night, Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, was put to death. And this is yeah. So they apparently Belshazzar put a purple robe on Daniel and a gold chain around his neck, and they declared Daniel to be the new ruler, and then they killed the old one, Belshazzar, the one that named the new. That's fucked up. Anyways, it's I'm working on it right now. I'm planning on it having like a the drawers that most apps have. I've got like a drawer popping out right now. I haven't done a lot with it, but I've been mostly getting all the data and everything like that set up. So I'm hoping to have that out. It's not going to be a pay to own app. It's going to be a free app. So it's going to have some ads in it that I'm gonna run in it to support it or whatever. But in any case, that's what I've kind of got going on now, as well as a couple other apps. I'm retooling the Crestus app so that it can be better. Gary White says, I sent you a picture of the game that I'm going to do a video on. It's called the Bible game. Ooh, interesting. Michelle Foster, yes, I finally wrote the Atheist Bible. Gary White, okay. Godless Bible.
It's not. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Gradle or Maven, or do you just use Java? It's actually React Native is what I built this in. I chose React Native because it's platform independent, and I can port it to both iOS and Android. So, yeah, I'm using React Native. They just upgraded to version 5 of React Native, which does their navigation a bit different, so that's why I'm having a little bit of trouble with it. But like I said, I'm getting it worked out. But yeah, so be looking for that in the future, a Bible app from the Godless Engineer. R is the one language to rule them all. I'm sure, Brian. Crestus is the only app I've paid for. Oh, really, Hellbound? Well, I'm glad that you did, because I mean, it's a lot cheaper than paying for all of like Richard Carrier's books, which it has like all the information is derived from Carrier's works, obviously. But I mean, all of those are peer-reviewed works, but it also has other support from other authors in there too. I'm working the other thing I'm working on is a new version of the Crestus app where it's gonna have an updated UI, and you're actually gonna be able to search. So you're gonna be able to search through things, and you're gonna be able to search the entire database of stuff. Is basically. Or GE Study Bible, that would be cool. Does the app need a connection to the internet? No. Sleepy in Seattle, it'll definitely be an offline type of app. That's going to mean that the app is going to be a little heavy, like as far as space wise. I think right now the database alone is like 50 some odd megabytes. So, I mean, it'll be offline to where you don't need to be connected to the internet, but that just means that there's going to have to be more data that takes up on your phone. That's not bad on most modern phones. Yeah, I know, Cadence. That's what I was thinking too, because like there's this one. I've got this one. Yeah, I've got this Christian app that's like a game for like is like Bible games, and it's like 400 megabytes. It's crazy. But yeah. But I mean, okay, so the database, the reason why it's so large is because it has all three of the Book of Mormon books, the Book of Mormon, Doctrine and Covenants, and Pearl of Great Price. It's got all the Apocrypha books. It's got the public domain version of the Catholic Bible, but then it's also got like 4 different versions of the just the Bible in general. So the super heat of Daniel M. So he became a pimp. So wait, so who became a pimp there, Daniel? I'm sorry. I missed that particular super chat. Let's see. Vanta says the biggest app he used was like 600 megabytes. Oh, Gary, I'm talking about the Bible app that I'm developing right now. Well, I'm in the process of getting all the navigation and the all of that stuff down, and hopefully I can get it out there. Maybe by the end of the summer, but I'm not sure. It depends on how much time I have. When you were reading Daniel, so he became a pimp. Hell yeah, he became a pimp. Fucking Daniel got that gold chain, that purple sash, and he went around and was like, yo, off this motherfucker. No, that's not what he said, but that's how I would repeat it. Let's see. Jane Pusecker said, I would pay for it if he made a Bible and sent it. My old Bible study leaders, it would have debunking facts. Yeah, so that's what I'm planning on having in there, because like another key thing that's going to be in there is that when you look up a Bible verse, you're also going to have like an informational page that'll have like if a verse is violent or whatnot, if it's contained in a collection, it'll indicate it there, but it'll also show you if there are contradicting passages from other portions of the Bible, because I have a list of contradictions that I can pull from, and it'll do that. So that's what I'm planning on, at least. What's a pimp, Misty? Pine Snake, would you develop an app that shows all the contradictions in the Bible? Oh yeah, that's what I just said. It's gonna have that. Like one of the collections is gonna be contradictory Bible verses, and you'll be able to scroll through it and get it. When is the new app going to be on, Godless Engineer? Whenever I actually get it developed and I'll launch it, you'll probably start seeing me use it in videos and stuff, promoting it and stuff like that. I'm a motherfucking PIMP. Yeah, Hanzo, the guy managing prostitutes. Yes, that is what a pimp is. I thought she was being facetious, is what she was doing. Anyways, all right, guys, it's almost been 2 hours. This was a long stream. I'm so sorry, honey, that I did this. Anyways, let's see. Cadence says, as I said, I'll help you test it. I'm good at breaking shit. Oh, okay, good. I'm sure if anybody is going to be my initial test group, it's definitely going to be the Skeptic Mafia. So Cadence is already in there, as well as Michelle Foster, Gary, and Jane. Vanta and Gary, Jucane, all of you guys. I really appreciate everybody being here tonight. If you will, please, give this video a like if you liked it. If not, that's okay. And I guess I'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice. Bye, heathens.